What's up everyone, and it's time yet again for more Reddit stories about entitled people, crazy people, and all that kind of stuff. Hope you're all doing awesome today. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and as usual, let's get into today's stories. Exposing my husband's affair with his girl best friend at a family barbecue after his father told me to get over it. I, 29 female, have been married to my husband, 31, for 5 years. We've had a good relationship overall, but there's always been one issue. His quote, girl best friend, Megan, 30. She's been in his life since childhood, and while I've always felt a bit uneasy about their closeness, I trusted my husband and tried to be cool with it. Megan is always around. She's at her house constantly, they text all the time, and she even comes on family vacations with us. Every time I brought up how their friendship made me uncomfortable, my husband would brush it off, saying she's practically a sister and that I was overreacting. To make matters more complicated, my mother-in-law, 58, is amazing. She's always had my back and has told me multiple times that if Megan made me uncomfortable, I should talk to my husband about setting boundaries. On the other hand, my father-in-law, 60, has a very different attitude. He adores Megan and has always said that she's part of the family, and that I just need to deal with it. He thinks my discomfort with their friendship is just jealousy. Fast forward to 2 months ago. My husband started acting distant, coming home late, being secretive with his phone, and just off. I had a gut feeling something was wrong, so one night I went through his phone while he was in the shower. That's when I found out. He and Megan had been having an affair for months. I was crushed. I confronted him and he admitted everything. He swore it was a mistake, said he loved me, and begged me not to leave him. I didn't know what to do, so I stayed quiet for a bit, trying to process everything. A couple of weeks later, my in-laws hosted a big family barbecue. I was still reeling from the affair, but my husband convinced me to come, saying we needed to keep up appearances while we worked things out. I went, but I was a wreck inside, especially knowing Megan would be there. Sure enough, Megan showed up like nothing had happened, acting all friendly with everyone, including me. I was boiling inside, but I kept it together. Then during dinner, my father-in-law made some offhand comments about how Megan would always be part of the family and that I needed to get over my insecurities. He said this in front of everyone. That was my breaking point. I stood up, looked straight at him, and said, "You know what? I would get over it if she wasn't sleeping with my husband." The entire table went silent. Megan's face turned white, and my husband tried to calm me down, but I wasn't having it. I told everyone exactly what had been going on. The sneaking around, the lies, the betrayal. My mother-in-law was furious, but not at me. She laid into my husband and Megan, saying they'd destroyed our marriage and disrespected me. My father-in-law, though, had the audacity to say I was overreacting and that affairs happen, but I shouldn't have aired it out in front of the family. He even defended Megan, saying she made a mistake and that we should all move on. I left the barbecue and have been staying with my mom ever since. My husband keeps begging me to come home, and my mother-in-law has been supportive, but my father-in-law is telling the whole family that I'm the one causing drama and blowing things out of proportion. Also, there are no kids involved. My soon-to-be ex-husband can't have kids. Edit. After seeing some of the comments addressing father-in-law defending Megan, I asked mother-in-law if there was something weird going on there, or if she knew if he'd cheated before. They have been married for a long time. He's cheated 10 times. One thing you guys might find important is he slept with Megan's mother. Update 2. After my mother-in-law saw all these comments and had been talking with me about this entire situation, it seems to have really put her own marriage into perspective. And with my support, she found the strength to leave her husband as well. Their marriage has been very rocky and she has been wanting to get out of it, but he has been the breadwinner for years. She has decided to get a divorce no matter what now, but he doesn't know that yet. She just decided an hour ago. Yes, I will be helping her with a place to stay, and she wants to get into real estate with me, so I'll be trying to pull some strings and help her out in every way I possibly can. And yes, father-in-law knew about my husband's affair. That boils my blood that he isn't even a decent enough human to tell me about it. If it was me or mother-in-law cheating, both father-in-law and ex-husband would be very pissed. Am I the asshole for telling my husband that he absolutely ruined the birth of our child? So when I got pregnant with my daughter, my husband started in immediately telling me that I should have a home birth. I really do not know why he was so adamant on it, but he was. At first, I brushed him off and told him I would think about it because I was only 6 weeks pregnant, and the birth seemed so far off. Of course, it came quickly, and my husband would literally speak over me at doctor's appointments when my doctor would ask if I had a birth plan. This caused a few arguments between us in those 39 weeks of pregnancy, but I never really changed my mind. Eventually, my husband's mother sat down and talked to me, and she told me all of the reasons why they did not want me to go to a hospital for the birth. I expressed my concerns about, safety of the baby and myself, but just like my husband, she brushed me off. I ended up telling my husband that I would take myself to the hospital when it was time, and that I did not want a home birth. He acted as if he didn't hear me. We met with a doula who was also very pushy. I felt overwhelmed and not supported at all. I was 36 weeks at that point. So when I went into labor, I was 39 weeks, and I begged, absolutely begged my husband to take me to the hospital where my doctor is. He wouldn't. He spoke to me condescendingly and called the doula instead. I was in labor for about 3 days, active labor for around the last 22 hours. I cried the whole time. I just felt something was wrong. I was scared, and oftentimes they left me alone. The doula told me that if active pushing in labor reached 24 hours, I had to go to the hospital. I remember thinking that I could not decide which was worse, staying in labor for another 2 hours or having my baby right there. When she was finally out, I don't even remember wanting to hold her. I just remember crying out of relief. Obviously, I am okay now, but I did not have a good experience. On my first appointment after birth with my doctor, she was very shocked I had the baby. She was concerned. I was so upset. I told my husband that he absolutely ruined it for me. I truly never want to go through that again. I hear mothers say that they forget all the pain the second they have the baby, but I didn't. I love my daughter so much, but it was horrible and it was entirely his fault. So I told him that several times. He rolls his eyes every time and tells me how mothers are strong and how I am not trying to be strong. I told him that if we ever have another baby, which he wants, that I will never do a home birth ever again. His response is, "We'll see." I cannot possibly be the asshole here, can I? Everyone around me is acting like this is so normal, but it's not, is it? Our daughter is now 8 weeks old, so obviously this whole argument has gone on a long time. We both have been holding grudges and neither of us think that we are wrong. My husband does not know I am posting this, so I'm going to keep it as anonymous as possible. Okay, first off, what in the actual Who the hell does that? I'm referring to OP's husband, obviously. We never got any concrete details on why he was so adamant on doing this in the first place. And sure, discussing these things together and making these kinds of decisions as a unit can definitely be a good thing. But at the end of the day, it's the mother's damn decision to make. And to me, it kind of sounds like OP is being gaslit into thinking this isn't as serious as it is. And holding her hostage and not allowing her to go to the hospital to have her baby is just psychopathic behavior, especially considering she begged him to take her. This almost sounds like something you could be charged with a crime for. And they're honestly lucky that there were no serious complications with the birth, aside from the fact that it sounds like it was straight up traumatic for the mom. This whole thing is just a huge red flag in general, and red flag is honestly putting it lightly. I mean, if the husband is this dismissive of his wife's feelings on such a serious matter, what do you think he's like in their other aspects of their life? Laughing in my sister-in-law's face when she DNA tested my daughter. I, 30 male, have a daughter who's 6. I am not biologically related to her at all. There is no blood relation between us. I was friends with her mother for most all of my childhood. We were never involved romantically and were always just friends. She had her daughter at 23 with her 25-year-old husband. When my daughter was a newborn, about 3 months technically, both her mother and father were killed. I won't go into too much detail for privacy reasons, but it was a workplace shooting. My friend and her husband had worked in the same building and were both killed. Both my friend and her husband had grown up with less than ideal families, and didn't have any siblings, so there wasn't any next of kin for their daughter to go to. However, because I was close with them, I was able to adopt her. Even though I had been iffy about the idea of kids, I didn't want their daughter to grow up in foster care, or around people who didn't have a connection to her bio parents, so I stepped in. My parents and siblings know that my daughter is not my actual daughter, biologically speaking. My daughter, I'll call Lily for the post, also knows that she's adopted. I never really hid the fact that she was adopted. She knows her parents are dead and were killed by a bad man, but I'm saving the details for when she's older. Lily does not look like me at all. She looks exactly like her mother and biological dad. Most people assume that I'm her bio dad and that she just took after her mom. I don't ever really correct this when and if people assume this, because it just seems unnecessary. My brother has been with his fiancée for about 2 years now. A few weeks ago, we were all meeting up at my parents' house, and my sister-in-law saw an old picture of me, my friend, and her husband. She pointed to my friend and asked who she was, and I explained that was Lily's mother. Sister-in-law got quiet and stood in front of the picture for a while. I didn't think much of it. To clarify, she knows my friend died, but I guess didn't know that she had been married, or that Lily is not my bio daughter. I suppose she assumed my daughter was mine and my friend's biological daughter. My sister-in-law got a DNA test done on my daughter behind my back. She used my brother's DNA for the test, and when it came back that they weren't related, she knew that meant me and Lily weren't related. She came up to me with the results and waved them in my face, saying that I was taking care of a dead woman's affair baby. She said this to me in front of my daughter. I just stared at her for a while before bursting out laughing at this. I told her I knew Lily wasn't my biological daughter, and that this thing called adoption exists. Her face went red and she stormed off. My brother is mad I embarrassed his fiancée, but I said she embarrassed herself by DNA testing a kid that isn't hers and then parading the results up to me. What did she want me to do? What was her goal with this? Did she want me to break down and abandon my daughter? My brother said she thought she was doing the right thing. Update: my brother lied to my sister-in-law about everything. My sister-in-law ended up coming to my house and apologizing, as well as telling me the full story. My brother put her up to the DNA test. When I first adopted Lily, my brother for some reason believed that Lily was my bio daughter. He thought that me and Lily's mom were together and just weren't telling anyone. He believes that when she got pregnant, she told me that the baby was mine and that she was going to just say that it was her husband's, and I went along with it because I didn't really want kids. Sister-in-law was under the impression I believed I was Lily's bio dad. She saw the picture of Lily's mom and I, and after asking for clarification on who she was, assumed we were together in it, and then got suspicious when she saw that the other guy in the picture, the actual bio dad, looked a lot like her. I also want to clarify I didn't tell her that Lily's bio dad was in the picture, because she had specifically pointed to the mom, and I assumed she knew that Lily was adopted. I didn't know my brother had been telling lies to her for nearly 2 years. She got the DNA test out of her own suspicions, and my brother helped her with it because he thought it would reveal that I was actually the bio dad. He manipulated her into thinking that it would clear the air of suspicion, when really he was just trying to prove that I was really the bio dad and lying about the reasons for adoption. Well, of course, the results proved that I wasn't the bio dad and that my brother was wrong. My brother felt too embarrassed to confess to his fiancée that he had lied about the circumstances, which is why sister-in-law confronted me with the results. My sister-in-law also apologized for showing me the results in front of my daughter. She told me that her mom had an affair and cheated on her father, got pregnant with another man's kid, and had let her father believe the kid was his. Her father was devastated by this when he found out, and she grew very resentful of women who do that to their spouses. She had wanted to sit me down and talk to me about it without my daughter, but when she saw me with my daughter, she got angry, thinking I was being led on to believe I was raising my daughter when I was actually raising another man's kid, and she ended up exploding and immediately waved the results in my face. My sister-in-law does feel very guilty, and she's angry at my brother for lying to her. I'm not angry at her for doing the test because she thought she was doing the right thing. I am pretty sure she plans to break up with my brother now, and I don't blame her. And that's going to be it for today, friends. Thank you for watching, I appreciate it. And as always, if you enjoyed, be sure to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel for more Reddit shenanigans. So take care, and I'll see you next time.